Evening all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. This is Thanksgiving evening, and here we go. Hi all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. This is tonight on Thanksgiving evening, and I hope you all, the listeners in America, all had a nice and fulfilling and happy family day. My day, I slept in for the first time in a long time. Till about 10 o'clock. So I only had a couple of hours work to do today. And believe it or not, I know this is going to upset many, but between 10 and 12:30 today, I was sunbathing. So a nice, pleasant 82 degrees. And so that was half of my day today. So I actually got a chance to recharge some of my own batteries. I'm now recovered from the kidney infection, stroke stones I had last week, so all's good. And much has been ongoing again, both in America and globally. There's some really extraordinary things going on. But I think what I'd like to cover is people are coming to me and saying things feels different, and that's because they are, and people just can't put the finger on it. Everything just feels different. You can't, not sure if it's the frequencies, the energies, or what it is. Well, this is for those who are not in the movie, as I described in the show last week about the two living in two worlds simultaneously currently. There's those who are not in reality, they're playing out in the movie, and those of us who are in reality, who are watching them in disbelief at their stupidity. Playing along with election games and crying because Hitler didn't win. These people need a bang upside the head, to be quite honest. But we are returning to a more natural, organic planet. We have been in a hologram. We have been in a negative rogue AI system that is not source-based, and consequently, to my knowledge anyway, that is being dealt with currently. We came out of the tube that we were kind of ensconced in over many thousands of years. You can call it a tube, you can call it a portal, a wormhole, a stargate. Either way, we were inside a system. Now, we reported back a few months ago that we had come out and free from that system, and things would start manifesting in a certain way to those that believe. And it is to a degree, but it's also tipping a lot of people sadly over the edge, because as we return to the natural, some of the memories return. Those of you who have past life memories, or some of the traumas return, and they all have to be dealt with, and that applies to all of us eventually. It's like a dark night of the souls, where we have to go through a period of real reflection, not the mirror tech reflection, which bounces back into you. It's a going over of where we are, who we are, and what we are, and where we're at currently. So this is proven rather difficult to a lot of people, and I termed it the truth trauma. There's a lot of truth coming out in the mainstream media. For people who say nothing's changed, you're really not looking and observing too well, mainly because there's too much information coming out. So that is difficult. But we went back to the start of Cosmic Voice, which was like 3.25 years ago. If the idea of the mainstream media covering the pedophile ring in the White House was a complete no-no, and we would have all been jumping through hoops at that information. Well, look what the exposures of the Clintons and the Bushes and the McCains, all in the mainstream. So they're validating what we knew in the alternative media and what we've been telling them over many, many years. That is a sea of change. Now, others will want to see a more dramatic style change. But if people are struggling within themselves with the volume of information now, imagine what would happen if a full-on data dump took place. And it's going to be difficult for us all, because truth does hurt. We all like to say we want this and we want disclosure, and no one wants disclosure more than I do. This is what this show's about, as well as trying to help people to empower themselves and be their own saviour. So we're in very, very strange times where we all know something's but on the tip of a very tall precipice, and we're about to go sliding down it and going wee all the way to the bottom. And at the bottom is freedom, real freedom. But real freedom comes from within. You're not just given it. You can obtain freedom even in a what is largely a psychopathic world by stepping out of their system. Many of you who listen to this show have already stepped outside the matrix. This is why you feel different. This is why your dreams are different. They're more vivid, far more lucid. And this is why some people are drifting away from you. You have moved, they never. They are stuck inside the movie. Now, my work with the UPU and the foundation people, they're kind of tired of me saying one thing, but I will stick to it because it's important that we have some type of public event that's going to shake out many more that's stuck in the movie currently. There's many sitting on the fence. They are aware of what each and every one of you is telling them. They do know. But it's the fear. The fear of holding your hands up and saying, you know what, I was wrong. The fear of saying, sorry, I called you a nut and discarded you. But we all make mistakes in life. But it's how you react to it. Are you going to continue the feud, or are you just going to go, okay, I've made mistakes, so why shouldn't I forgive others for making their mistakes? And this is going to be important going forward. So we're kind of heading towards a return to the natural, organic planet, and things will feel different. You won't be able to put your finger on it. I can't. I can feel it. There's a serenity and a calm, and it's just a very strange vibration, and that's the best I can put it into words. It just feels very odd, but also very serene and calming. Now, the fact that we're experiencing that tells you there is the wind of change. The wind of change is happening right in front of your face. And yes, we all want to see certain things fixed, and chemtrails and Standing Rock and the SARA and mass arrest and all the other stuff right out in the public. But this show has told you, and has been proven over time, that things are actually taking place and being done in a very quiet manner, so as to not cause chaos in what is already a chaotic world. Now, many people who go on alternative media mention about source, they mention about AI. My opinion is the AI, current AI that was operating around this planet and solar system, is now defunct. It's operational to a point where it has, or it can't do what it was doing previously, which was overriding the source AI. Now, this is just my theory. If it fits in with what you think, or it resonates with you, that's fine. But my theory is the source AI is not a machine. It's not a he, it's not a she, it's just it. Now, the AI, in essence, is the people and the beings and the plants and the mammals and the birds and the reptilians and the greys and the mantids and all the other species. It's the collective consciousness. Now, people think, well, source should fix the dark and fix the bad. But that, then, is it not implementing another control system where everyone has to be good? Is that a good thing? Some would say yes, some would say no. But then you can't have light without the dark, and vice versa. And it's all about returning to the balance. Now, what we've had here, and many other systems throughout the universe, is a group of ETs thinking they are source, and they've been running around to many systems playing the gods. These are the gods, or God or gods, that we as humans have been praying to. Whether people like that idea or not, it is what it is. They tried to cheat the system, trying to cheat death, so they can continue their control program. So then they set up a mimic AIs, mirror tech. You've heard me mention about this before, where it looks like the original, but it's not. Now, this particular AI, all it knows is what we, the people, and some of the reptilians and the Draco, etc., have put into it. And all we've put into it is anger, hatred, divide and conquer, war, aggression, violence, destruction. How is it supposed to react different? And we're all responsible for that. I know some people don't like that, but each and every one of us is responsible. When we're talking about illegal aliens, there's no such thing as an illegal alien when you're living on your own planet. There's no such thing as an immigrant. How can you be an immigrant on your own planet? That type of thinking, whilst it's been part of the program of the cabal, it doesn't mean to say that we have to participate in it. I highlighted a story a number of months ago about what happened in the floods in Louisiana, where people, black, white, Hispanic, male, female, straight, gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever, all came together. They didn't wait for the government. They didn't wait for the federal system. They fixed it themselves. Nobody remembered whether those Mexicans were illegal or not. Nobody even thought about it. It was all about people joining up together, caring and sharing, and community-based help and support for each other. It's only when you come away from that you allow yourself to talk in the terms of illegals or immigrants. We don't want no Syrians, or we don't want this, or we don't want Puerto Ricans in our country. They don't respect our culture. Well, who set the culture? They did. Because then it becomes divide and conquer again. Something else to divide and conquer. Create different cultures, create different languages, create different religions. It's all the same game. But at the end of the day, they can keep setting all these games and programs, but that doesn't mean to say we have to comply with them. It just doesn't. So collectively, we have a responsibility. And yes, I'm fully aware that there has been implications in here where the odds were stacked. Heavily stacked. In not only this system, but the whole universe. As I understand it, it was 87% dark, and they thought it couldn't be saved. Some thought differently and came in and attempted to rescue it. Those people were correct. Because solar system by solar system is being swept clean. Not just sweeping out the dark. Re-educating. A cabal person is just a good person that's gone the wrong way. A good person could also be a bad person if they go the wrong way. It's in each and every one of us. So we've also learned that the cabal have been lied to left, right and centre also, much to their chagrin. So are they totally the bad guys? Or have they, in essence, in an overview point of view, I must stress that, because I know some take it the wrong way, in an overview point of view, given we are creator beings, taught us the biggest lesson ever, is that when we return to source and come back to be creator beings, how not to be. Are we going to turn into gods? Or are we going to be different because we've seen the consequences of what's taken place here? So yes, in all the heinousness and some of the real bad stuff they've done, in essence, they've taught us a rapid pace lesson. Whether they see it that way is another matter. It's something we should consider. Going forward, those lessons learned on a soul level will be beneficial to all of us. how not to act and be with other people, how not to abuse technology. Technology has led to our downfall and theirs, because they haven't learned to balance it. And all Drake has been promising we were going to get this tech and healing tech and this tech and that tech, and many others, not just Drake. But to me, the judgment of it is it beneficial to humanity, or is it not? If it's not beneficial to humanity, then it should be scrapped, because that then sends you down a path where that particular type of technology can be abused. So the AI is now learning that not everyone wants divide and conquer. Not everyone wants violence. Not everyone wants to play service to self. We in the Western world have spent the last 30, 40 years playing service to self. Jack the lad, as they call it in the UK, looking after number one and bugger the rest of them. You know, Thatcher started it in Britain back in the 70s. You know, a dog-eat-dog world. That's not the way to be. I've mentioned many, many times about competing with each other. We compete with our friends, we compete with our family members, we compete with our neighbours or our work colleagues. Better this, better that. No. How about a better person? Not how many houses you got, or how many cars you've got, or how much money you make. They don't dictate how good a person you are inside. Just doesn't. You know, we've spoke on this show about doing the shadow work. I'm pleased to have spoken to a number of the members recently who have all thanked me for starting that so far back, because I knew what was coming. I said this year will be the year of the apocalypse, which is to reveal the hidden. Well, much has been revealed, and much of it was hidden. And I said it would get confusing and convoluted, and boy has it got confusing and convoluted. Next year will be different again. Because once the light has been shined on the hidden, that's the end. They will not dim the light. The light will only increase, and as the light increases, we will see and reveal all. This is what's coming up next year. Not saying things won't take place between now and the end of this year, but I think next year could be rather extraordinary on many levels. Do I think we'll get ET disclosure next year? Maybe. More likely not. Do I think we'll get small D disclosure? I think it's ramping up already. Some notice it, some don't. Some are still stuck in the movie and can't see anything. But the stupidity they put out on TV. But it's all there. And I'm going to continue to pester those who have the clout or wherewithal to make the difference and make the changes for a full-on public event, whatever that entails, that's going to rescue some from their own insanity of still being stuck in the movie. There's no need to be stuck in the movie anymore. Matrix is open. Step outside. Whole new world for everyone. Just because some people feel it, don't kind of feel bad in yourself that maybe you're not. Everyone, it comes to everyone at different times. We're not all the same. Technically we're all one, but we're not all the same. So there's a lot to be encouraged by. It hasn't been some of the full-on drama that perhaps our listeners were familiar with the mass arrests and this and that. But I did warn back in May we would not likely see that take place in that format as it was laid out. It would be nice, but it would also lead to catastrophe. 80% losses on both sides. I was discussing this recently, and someone said to me, you know, it could get dodgy in Florida because they could declare martial law and this and that. And I thought, well, if it is, it is. I don't believe for 1 minute they're going to wheel out martial law. I don't think, me personally, don't think it will be allowed. So people can keep spouting their fear porn about martial law, and I'm going to keep counteracting and saying it won't be allowed. Furthermore, they haven't got the funds to carry it out. I'll cover more on that soon. You'd be there'll be maybe asking the foundation people for a loan soon. They're that desperate. Only with severe conditions. They refused our offers in the past. We won't be as forthcoming next time. So I hope that covers some of what some of you are experiencing. Trying to wake people up at this time now is a complete waste of time. It's too late. They need a shock event of some description, and you're not to be that shock event. What you need to be is just stay within yourself. If you have dealt with your shadow work, good on you. Stay in an inner calm and an outer calm. There's not as much of an issue to do with loosh as there was in the past, but still heightened sense of feelings where you get too depressed or too excited is still a loosh form. Those that remain calm can't be loosed. This is why they create chaos and panic and fear. Just like the food of life to them. But their days of creating that fear, panic and chaos is crumbling right before them. In recent shows I've mentioned the word, or two words, it failed. It failed. It failed. And largely now what they're doing is counteracting our moves, the people's moves. So in essence now they're on the defensive. They're not attacking no more, because they can't. That is a massive sea of change. Up till 5 years ago, certainly up till 2012, they just did what they wanted. Some people will say they're still doing what they wanted. It's not the way it was. It's just diminishing by the week, or even the day. Yes, they'll throw chemtrails about, but they also find out that a lot of them is being negated. It's pointless exercise, eventually. The public have turned against their Monsanto food in many, many countries. Again, that's a sea of change. In many countries, they've had it banned. Who did that? It wasn't the UPU or the Foundation people. It was the people. Like I've always said, it's the people that have the power. We've just forgotten it. We play into the fear program. Once fear goes, then your capabilities of what you can do increase rapidly. You are then become free within your own self. If you stop worrying what other people think of you because you're a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist, then you've free yourself from their system. If it bothers you that a family member calls you a conspiracy theorist or not, you're still partly in their system. This is who you are, and this is who you choose to be, not to conform what they want. Nobody's here to conform to anybody. As the piece at the end of the I do at the end of the show, you're here to be the best you can be as the crown of creation, not to conform or fit in with anybody else. No, that's not freedom. That's a box system. Freedom is you going out and being the best you can be without the baggage of other people dragging you down, putting you into labels, putting you into boxes. You now have the choice to go which way and be who you wish to be. So I hope that's covered a few things, and we'll have more in other shows as things crop up. But I know some of you have been struggling in different ways. We all are in many aspects. As memories return, as strange vibrations return, then things are going to feel rather odd. But don't worry and don't panic. Things are looking good. Right, let's get into some news. We're talking about, let's go into this one first. This may take us up to the hour. We were talking about an event, and I've been pushing for that, and pushing. Maybe on December the 4th we'll create our own event. For those of you unfamiliar, December the 4th, there will be a march of hundreds of US veterans, and they will muster at the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota. Their mission is to completely stop the Dakota Access Pipeline. Now, this is again what we've been calling for. I myself have been highly critical of the militia, including playing a Toy Soldiers song, which upset quite a few of them. But you can't on the one hand says, we're ready for you, brother, act out Rick Light to Drake, and then when he asks, says, oh, we're not doing that, it's illegal. Not really. It's illegal what they're doing. Stealing people's lands and stealing people's water. That's illegal. So, the fact that the veterans have decided that they're going to do something about it is evidence that finally the American people have got built up sufficient kahunas to go and take the system on. What we need is as many people who live in the area to attend on the same day. All the militias. And then if we get that shut down, we have a full-on empowerment of the people. The cabal then know it's game over. So I'm appealing to all the militia people in the region, including those just across the border in Canada. Go down to the North Dakota Standing Rock and support the American people, the Native Americans. What has been encouraging, of course, the peace treaty enabled much of that, is the support of all the tribes. This is your time to get your land back that has been stolen by largely Europeans, which most of us who listen to this show are anyway, or descendants of. And I hope Mr. Trump is instructed that he puts in a Native American in his cabinet or some important post. You can't have a new government of the people and not have a representative of the originals. So this Wes Clark Jr. declared most civilians have never served in a uniform, are kind of gutless, who have never been in a fight in their life. So if we don't stop it, who will? Mr. Clark is one of the most vociferous opponents of the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is a controversial 1,170-mile project that, even when completed, will shuttle an estimated 470,000 barrels of crude oil every day from North Dakota to Illinois. It's funny they can do 1,170 miles of oil pipeline and produce 470,000 barrels per day, and yet they can't do a couple of 100 miles pipeline to supply water to the whole of the southwest of America. It's all about priorities, isn't it, for them? Well, it's time we reminded them of our priorities, not theirs. Most of us now recognise there is alternatives to oil, and most of us now recognise that the fact that we don't wish to see oil being used in the way it is anymore. All the drilling, all the destroying of the land, you know, it makes you laugh. Well, it doesn't make you laugh, it makes you cry actually. when they're talking about the environment, when these very same people are destroying it daily with these drilling and fracking for resources we don't even need. So when these clowns are talking about climate change and environment and all this, they're the ones responsible for it, not the people. People want the new tech. We want the free energy devices. So then we're not destroying the environment or creating climate change because there's, in inverted commas, too many people on the planet. No, there's too many 1% on the planet. Subsequently, he went on, he said, it's completely immoral and wrong and dangerous to us all. Mr. Clark is not your traditional tree hugger mould as described by the media, and he's certainly not a hippie, nor is he a member of the Lakota or Dakota tribes, which are the two Native American groups known collectively as the Sioux. But he's actually a former army officer and the organiser of an up-and-coming 3-day deployment of US military veterans to the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota. So this standoff has been escalating for months now between law enforcement and backed security contractors, aka Rothschild's mercenaries. Yes, you again, Mr. Hook-Nose. And activists that has so far resulted in multiple injuries, including a 6-year-old girl being shot in the face, from what I gather. That's really nice of them, isn't it? Not. And more than 500 arrests just for standing there and exerting your right as an American to protest. What they're telling you is that you don't have that right. You don't like what we say, we shoot you in the face. Really. Well, these people, I hope that many go ahead and support them. The whole country should turn out, as many as possible. What are they going to do? Shoot 1 million people? If 1 million people turned up and edged forward one step at a time, are they going to shoot everyone? No. That's how you end it. That's how you would end Area 51. You get 1 million people who want ET disclosure and just march up the path, knock the gates down and keep on marching. Are they going to do anything? They're going to shoot everyone? No. So you see, we do have the power once we get over the fear of them. So apparently this is now a United Nations investigation of potential human rights abuses. You know, America's, or the government anyway, has been fond of highlighting other countries and abuses of human rights. There's been just as much, if not more, abuses of human rights over the past 60, 70 years than any other country, bar none. When people find out about Northwoods and all the other stuff that went on, the spraying of whole populations of biochemicals and all kinds of virals, just to see how people in the war zone would react to it on their own people. So this country has no right to turn around to another country and tell them about potential human rights abuses. when the public find out about the depth of that alone, there'll be uproar. It's abuse of human rights. Under 60% of your budget goes on violence when there's people starving. That's an abuse of human rights. Because if you ask the people, do they want their sons and daughters stationed in 180 countries around the world, they'll all tell you no. So that's abusing human rights. So, according to an operations order for the planned engagement posted to social media in mid-November, first Americans have served in the United States military defending the soil of our homelands at a greater percentage than any other group of Americans. There is no other people more deserving of veteran support. So, again, that is a sea of change. It's different to what you'd expected it may be, but that is a change in the people deciding enough is enough. What it leads to, eventually, could lead us to us all obtaining our freedom back. You can't obtain freedom back by sitting there and ignoring everything that's going on, like the clowns still stuck in the movie. Here's another potential change. On Thursday, in the House, it passed legislation that would allow Congress to overturn in a single vote any regulations finalised in the last days of the Obama administration. So that's all the dodgy executive orders that he's been forced into signing. Not all of them is his fault. I'm not totally exonerating him, but not all is his fault. Despite Democratic opposition, the Midnight Rule Relief Act passed largely along party lines by a 240 to 179 vote. The bill would amend the Congressional Review Act to allow Congress to overturn many rules all at once by the way of a resolution. Republican in Virginia urged his colleagues on the floor Thursday to pass the legislation and tell the American people that lawmakers heard them on Election Day loud and clear. The American people have said no to the continuance of the Obama administration policies, and this bill guarantees that Congress can prevent any and all last-minute defiance of the people's will by midnight regulations that stubbornly seem to entrench the last pieces of the administration's bipartisan agenda. So those of you who are thinking maybe he will pardon Android and the husband, if the people decide that that's not valid, it will be overturned. It's still on the agenda, despite what the media are trying to portray. Clinton investigation is ongoing. So House Republicans are doing everything in their power to keep the Obama administration from enacting any new rules in its final days. Earlier in the week, House Majority Leader warned the federal agencies in a letter to not finalise any pending rules or regulations from now to the inauguration. Those that are, he assured, will be scrutinised and, if appropriate, overturned. Null and void. While the bill targets rules finalised in the lame duck period between Election Day and January the 20th, the the Republican Hank Johnson argues its reach now is much further. And despite the bill's colourful title, he said the legislation allows Congress to overturn, listen to this clearly, to overturn rules as far back as last May. So you know all those dodgy executive orders? Bye. Again, that is a sea of change, a wind of change. Right, well, that hour went quick. We're going to have a couple of songs, and I'll be back with more news and some intel updates, and see if I can get through any questions. We got some sad news again. Seems to be happening far too often, but it is what it is. And this next song is going out to Tanique and her family. Tanique lost her brother this week, Erwine. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I'm sure all the members will send their condolences to Tanique. She's quite a popular member from Holland on the page, and I'm sure she'll see him again. Hi all, and welcome back on this, what is this, Thanksgiving evening show. Apologies for the noise in the background. No, somebody's not being murdered. We just have a very rowdy group of Hispanics living close by who are partying in the street. So I could shut the door, but it's a bit warm at the moment. Unlike other regions of the country, it's still a bit warm here. It's that time of year again when everyone hates Floridians. Sorry about that, and particularly the Brits. Sorry, Victoria. Right, let's get into some more encouraging news, and it is encouraging in many ways. I mentioned recently about California trying to succeed, and that is now gaining strength. They're submitting a proposed ballot measure to the state's Attorney General office in the hopes of a statewide vote as soon as 2018. The point being is whether that succeeds or not, the point being is people are actually unhappy en masse. Again, that is a sea of change. That's my new word for this week, the sea of change. So people start to grasp and seeing that people are waking up and not just sitting here on the computer or sitting on the butts watching football. They're actually going out and trying to make the changes themselves. Ultimately, we are the change. One of the things I wanted to mention in the first hour, in the 40s, early 50s, the agencies came up with the term conspiracy theorist. They knew there would be a future event where a mass of people would obtain information from a network source, i.e. the internet. They knew it was coming up. And eventually people would meet up, like-minded, instead of being hidden in all corners of towns and cities. They're suddenly all linked up via the internet. So they termed it a conspiracy theorist, which has kind of been the stick to beat us all with. Now, the New Age people, who are also part of the agency program, not all of them, most are completely oblivious to it, but going along with it. But a new term has come up in the last couple of years called the Saviour Program. It is my belief that that is being used against us also now, The reason being, anyone who steps forward to help is classed as being in a saviour program. Automatically it discounts or discredits. People should be aware of these terminologies that they push forward into the public view, and certainly into the alternative media. The reality is, each and every one of us is a saviour program. We have to save ourselves. The only issue becomes when certain individuals, some of which you'll know, I'm not going to give names, but you'll all know certain names, pass themselves off as the saviour. There is no the or I. We are the saviour program for humanity, each and every one of us. So I'm asking people in the alternative media to be careful with their terminology. It's demeaning and it's discrediting to the people who have stepped up and stepped forward, to just label them saviour programs. Because the people who are saying that should also be the saviour program. Instead of labelling other people, it's time to join the group of humanity. So that's another encouraging thing, that the Californians are standing up and saying we're not putting up with federal control and all that bullshittery that goes on, and we're going to take action ourselves. Good stuff. Donald Trump released a video on Monday. In case you're worrying, like the media, why Mr. Trump is not being seen too often, there is two of him. One with the blue tie and one with the red tie. Not the same. Due to threats upon his person. So that is why Trump is largely out of the public eye. The hair colour is slightly different if you look closely. Laying out actions what he'll take on his first day in office on January the 20th, including withdrawing America from the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. As I understand it, it's been shut down. It will be ratified in January. He's also gone on to say he would issue a rule cutting government regulations, direct the Labour Department to investigate abuses of visa programs, and cancel some restrictions on energy production, including shale oil, gas and coal. So there's some of the things to look forward to in January. There's a lot more to look forward to that will roll out, and may be able to say a few things between now and the end of the year. But there's a lot of things ongoing at the moment that will be rolled out on January the 1st. So 2017 is going to be a rather good year. So, it was announced this week that Melania Trump is not going to be in the White House. She's staying in New York instead. Those of you who listen to this show every week can put two and two together why that is the case. Agent. Going against previous directives and rules, Pope Francis has named 17 new cardinals in the Roman Catholic Church from all around the world, many of whom will help choose his successor. The new cardinals come from 5 different continents, including the Vatican's envoy to Syria. The range of backgrounds represents a complete break with custom. Again, things happening different. Pope Francis has also now chosen to close to a third of the College of Cardinals, who will ultimately pick who succeeds him, if there is going to be a successor. I wouldn't be too sure. Only cardinals under the age of 80 can vote on the next pope, and 13 of those named cardinals on Saturday are under 80 and are now eligible to succeed him. This is the third time in 3 years that Pope Francis, the first Latin American pope, has named new cardinals. Again, it's a break with custom, and again, it's a break with tradition. And he has used each opportunity to promote more members from outside the college's traditional European base. Aka black nobility is what he's getting at there. Those of you who know the control structure of the Vatican will know exactly what I mean by that. I mentioned recently about a bill that would let men off who assaulted underage girls if they marry their victims in Turkey. Well, the people decided they weren't going to put up with that, and the people have won out in Turkey, and the legislation has been cancelled. So again, it's people power. Michael Flynn was appointed as US National Security Advisor this week, which is a remarkable change in fortunes for Mr. Flynn, who was sacked 2 years ago from his post as a Pentagon intelligence chief. The retired US Army 3-star Lieutenant General was one of Donald Trump's closest advisors and most ardent supporters during the campaign. They both met up with Japan's Shinzo Abe recently. We'll have more on that soon. Mr. Flynn complained he was fired from the Defense Intelligence Agency in 2014 for telling hard truths about the war on Islamic extremism. In other words, how bogus ISIS is and all the rest. And he believed that the US is losing a global war against Islamist extremism that may last for generations. No, it won't. They're getting routed by the Iraqi army, as mentioned on this show 3 weeks ago. They're getting decimated. No funding for ISIS anymore, and none of our tax dollars is going on ISIS anymore as well. But insiders suggested that Mr. Flynn's exit at the Department of Intelligence may have been related to his unpopular overhaul of the agency. In other words, he was routing out some of the clowns. And so that's the new National Security Advisor for America, Michael Flynn. We wish him well, routing out more of the clowns. Last piece of news before we get on to some intel and then some questions. Evo Morales, who's the Bolivia president or prime minister, has announced this week that Bolivia will no longer respond to the demands or the blackmail of the United States, the World Bank, or the IMF. Haha, don't you just love that? The IMF and the US-dominated World Bank have been major players in the global economic landscape ever since their creation in 1944. This is where a group of people from all the countries who were allegedly fighting the World War II all got together and did trade deals. And yet the respective countries was allegedly fighting each other during the war. Of course, we had the United Nations and a number of other organisations created between 1941 and 1945, when all these alleged people and their respective countries were all bombing each other, not the elites. These international banking organisations, which are privately controlled by the notorious Rothschild banking family, first pressure nations to deregulate their financial sector, allowing private banks to loot their economies. Once the governments are forced to bail out their deregulated financial sector, the IMF and or the World Bank sets up a loan package written in secret by central bankers and finance ministers that undermine the representative country national sovereignty and force them to adopt policies of austerity that harm workers, families and the environment. Like I said, they're the problem. Bolivia is the latest. What you will see between now and early in the new year is a raft of other countries doing and saying the same thing. Then you will know what we've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months, that we have spoken to all the governments, all 206 of them. They're all on board. They're not prepared to play the game anymore and are going to clean house. Once they've cleaned house, then the collateral accounts will be opened up to all 206 countries. So that's a few of the news stories going on around the world at the moment. That's all from the mainstream media. Like I said, there is a sea of change going on, and it's a very positive one for we the people and those of us in the alternative media who actually wants freedom and for the benefit of all, and not just for the service to oneself. Unfortunately, we have in our midst. But we'll fight on. Right, some intel for you, and then we'll have a single song music break, and then we'll go into some Q&As. So we've mentioned this before, but it needs to be reiterated of what's going on. The Rothschilds are 100% in partnership with the Chinese elders, aka the Asian faction. And that being said, both of these parties, all the way up through the covens and the family masters, now know they do not have any capacity, none, zip, nada, to release even $1 for any purpose, to include but not unlimited to the reserve currency, the revalue currency, or the GCR. I'll repeat that again as I got me tongue tied a bit. Both parties, all the way up through the covens and the family masters, now know they do not have any capacity to release even $1 for any purpose, to include but not limited to the RV/GCR. They can't do it. Period. And consequently, they're doomed. Rothschilds are the ones guiding all the people they owe money to, towards the people they crown as the Chinese elders. This took place last week in Reno, with all the big hitters and all the military people. Yes, US military, you know who I'm talking about. I know you listen. Went there with a fistful of dinars and the mercenaries, the hired contractors, and they got nothing. Well, he did get something. A very red face. Not as red as the Chinese elders, who realise they've got nothing in their account. I love it. So Rothschilds sent the Chinese elders as a stall technique so they don't lose power totally. Just keeping the illusion going. The illusion's gone because you've already lost total power. Eventually you'll lose all. So what the Rothschilds are doing are using them as the front patsies and fall guys to take all the bullshittery when stuff doesn't happen. Message to the elders and the dragons people. I hope you like being used as the Rothschild gophers. If you don't, step out and come and help humanity. Rothschild's little gophers. All the elders and all the dragon people. Well, you carry on. You will find out you backed the wrong horse. So they both know exactly what they're doing, meaning the Chinese elders and the Rothschilds, stroke family masters and the covens. They are all in on it. They said they would, reported this week, they would rather see the entire world destroyed than to lose their power. I have a message for them on that also. It will fail. Most of their dodgy tech has been removed for the kill shot. I would go as far as say as all of it has. But that's my opinion. And these clowns are still under the impression that they will be saved from any destroying of the planet by either hiding in the underground ET bases, some of which have been taken out recently, or by the Draco coming back and picking them up. So basically they think they are so important and so well loved by the Draco, they would come to save them. Oh, the irony. The cabal after a saviour program. Don't you just love it? The cabal looking for a saviour program. The reptilians, the slimy night lizards coming back to save them. Good luck with that, because they're not. They went home literally with their tail between their legs last year. They won't be returning for you. And this is a bit more sadder news, and why I put the warning out on the page. There is a big push on now to steal more money from the alternative media community, where they're using the alternative media to shout out lies that they've been paid out on dinars at top rates, and the elders are celebrating and to go out and buy more dinar. Don't. I said this was a Bush scam 3 years back. It hasn't changed. Bush stroke Rothschilds. Bushes are the Rothschilds' bagmen. All proceeds of these dinars are being paid to the Rothschilds and their bagmen, Bushes, so they can continue with their bullshittery. So you're funding them. You're not going to get rich on dinar. If you do, don't count on spending it. but the programs that they will unleash will render you obsolete. Most of us. Now, we may implement something in the near future where members of TH and I, who have a reasonable amount of dinars, not excessive, and I hope nobody's got excessive, heaven forbid, we will set a rate to buy them back off you. What we will do then is we will do a live video of us setting fire to every single dinar bought back. The foundation people were going to invest 3.4 quadrillion on buying back 7 quadrillion of dinar last year, and we're going to set fire to all of it. Reason being is it puts them back in the game. The oil currency, not gold backed, oil backed. This is why they want to take over the whole of the Middle East. Now, recently, the Chinese elders were offered $100 billion from the Chinese government to stop interfering with government business. The elders told them to F off. I don't think the Chinese government are going to take too kindly to that. In fact, I know they're not going to take too kindly to that. They have some fairly stringent measures over there of dealing with people. Some of them kind of bring tears to your eyes, but there you go. So this now proves that these Chinese elders and their bogus dragon groups have zero intention of helping humanity, none whatsoever. 100 billion would give everyone on the planet work and food. So they wanted to help humanity and roll out the humanitarian packages. They were given a choice and basically told the Chinese government to F off. Don't be following elders or dragons anymore. Those of you who are part of elders and dragon groups, please make contact. If you really want to help humanity, you're not doing it being paid representatives for them groups. Dragon groups are operated by reptilians. Period. So, all those working with the Chinese elders and quote-unquote European royals, please feel free to contact your respective party and confirm this. Go and ask where the elders offered 100 billion to help humanity and to stop interfering. Go and find out for yourself. So anyone who has any access to the Chinese elders or the dragon groups who thinks they are here to save the American people or restore the republic, it wasn't a republic, it was a republic of China, not America, aka Asian faction. Or save humanity. Those people need to go and ask their respective contacts and get direct confirmation that these people you work for or are paid by are basically full of bullshittery. period. A lot of what came out a few years ago, a new term came out called black goo, intelligent metal, or whatever it may, the different names, like an oil intelligence, viscous. I can now report that the manufacturing facilities producing that material has now been capped off and no longer in production or potentially in use at this time. Another program shut down. The Japan earthquake this week was cabal related. We should have known when I outed it last week about the Kissinger meeting Trump, who then warned him about not meeting the Japan Prime Minister, Mr. Abe, because Mr. Abe knows that Kissinger has been doing fraud over there on a massive scale, laundering. And also Kissinger instructed him that he was to become the Secretary of State for America. Mr. Kissinger, please do one. You're next. So they used the harp on Japan. All there, clear as day, 10 kilometers, same signature. Now, this type of quake also has a way, I'll have more details maybe in a later show, of enriching uranium. That's why they did Fukushima. I haven't got the full details on that to expand on that, but I will get more details if time allows to tell you more on that type of why that takes place. Final bit of intel or something different. This comes from the UBU people, and it's an assessment of where we are on this planet and what needs to be done or fixed. And apparently there has to be a break. This is will help all you science tech people. There has to be a break in the ionic magnetic bond that is currently between the North and South Pole, which extends out through the Van Allen belt. They explain that by placing two poles, which looks similar to drumsticks, like a ball at the top and a long widening stick at the end, at two different opposite ends of planet Earth, jutting from 2 points on or near the equator, will stabilize the teutonic or tectonic plates. These poles should go down 300 meters and up 600 meters. This would also prevent the Earth flipping or pole shift, which is estimated to be 15,000 years away still. But this should be put in place as soon as possible, as it will also have positive effects in protecting us from electromagnetic fields. In other words, some of the dodgy tech again. As electricity and other magnetic devices can all be replaced using this newly created free energy system. They further went on and says these electromagnetic charges presently are upsetting the diadium, which are the plankton type life form which exists in our oceans and plant life. So by placing these poles, it not only stops us having a pole shift, it stabilizes the plates and has a positive effect on the people, animals and plant life. So that's something to look forward for in the future. Rather interesting. There'll be more of those types of information put out as time goes on. There is more, but that one's been released for now. There is others that will be coming up. Right, I'm going to have one song, and then we'll be back with some Q&A. Oh, I nearly forgot. The other one that bites the dust, I've now had full confirmation. The original entity known as George Soros is now dead. Sometimes you don't always get what you want, but sometimes we get what we need. Hi all, and welcome back to the final portion of the show. I'm sure you liked that last piece of news. The original entity known as Soros is now dead, and confirmed by 2 separate sources. We wanted extra sources, or I did, for full confirm, and the man with a face like a melted candle has blown out of the wind. Bye. He had a choice. They all had and were given a choice this year. Some of the choices, my opinion, were over the top. Kind of sickening, really, given what they've done. But if it brings a speedier solution, and they're not interfering with humanity anymore, then the non-violent way is always the better way. We don't have to go down the same route, or we shouldn't go down the same route as what they've done. But there comes a time when they overstep the boundaries way beyond. Mr. Soros was causing chaos with his bogus protests, Black Lives Matter, Trump protest, amongst others. And he paid the price. So he's not the first, and he won't be the last either. You can count on that one. Right, some questions. Why are the Clinton Foundation and the organisation of George Soros not being put on hold and not under investigation? The organisation of Mr. Soros, in my opinion, will now collapse. As for the Clinton Foundation, do not believe the media rap that it's not under investigation and Trump is not going after Hillary anymore. Trump may be right in that statement, but it's not Trump that's going after Hillary and that group. Oops. So that's still ongoing and will not go away. Was death a construct of the Draco? Not totally, no. It's partially then, but not all down to that particular group. A lot of it is being organised by humans on their behalf via religious constructs, via death. If you don't cough up your money to the church, you will die a horrible death, and you'll go to hell and all that. Fear, fear, fear. Death is a new beginning, not an end. But these same people who have taught us to fear death are the ones who have been cheating it. And they're trying to implement the next round of cheating via transhumanism, turning everyone into walking robots. Many still in the movie, and sadly some of them not in the movie are doing that same act, walking around with technology in front of their face. Get out of the habit. You know, we all like the phones to a degree, but please stop looking at it every few seconds of the day. For those of you who use the phones quite frequently, log down what is actually written in a given day and see if any of those statements on either side are of any real relevance, or is it just a distraction from what's really going on around you? You'll be surprised. A lot of it is just a pile of crap, and too many of us jump into it far too easily. I myself didn't have a dumb phone until 2 years ago, and I had to do it as part of my work, and it gets used for work only. I'm not on it all day. I don't go on Facebook on it, and I don't go on the Skype either, otherwise I get no work done. It's all distraction. Put it down. Most of the drivel that's written backwards and forwards is just that. Stay away from it. Until we get the technology or the Wi-Fi that is non-harmful. We do have that tech. Is Billy Meyer truth or fiction? Bit of both. The original, in my opinion, he had experiences, and then he was introduced into the fiction to expand the story, which then loses the message of the original. As more and more you expand, the more and more it becomes a lie, and so then most people will throw the baby out with the bathwater. See how they do it? So originally, yes, but I believe that a lot of the follow-on meetings were bogus, which had an ongoing effect to then negate all of his information. What can you tell us or decipher of the Economist 2017 magazine cover? I had a quick look at it. I didn't I haven't had much time again this week. If I get time next week and I come up with anything, I will have it in the next show. Some interesting things about loops. I noticed that straight away. Bye loops. Mr. Robert Carey says he loves me. I thought I'm going to mention something last week. I met one of the members who doesn't normally post on the page. In fact, I think he only uses his wife Facebook page. And we had a rather pleasant meal, and he asked a load of questions, and I gave him a load of answers. And right at the end, he said something that it kind of makes it all worthwhile for me. He said I was an inspiration to him and many others. And being a Brit, I'm not too comfortable with compliments, but just that one line meant a lot to me. I've gone through a lot. You do go through a lot being in the front line in the alternative media. Some of it gets put out in the public, but a lot of it gets covered up. But the fun and games that go on behind the scenes would make your toes curl many times. And the fact that he chose to feel that way makes all the shows I've done worthwhile. Just that one comment. But we're here to inspire each other. That's the idea. I can't do it all alone. Without the listeners, we have no show. I'm just talking into an empty void. So the show is about the listeners, not just about me. And so that was rather encouraging. So Mr. Curry loves me as well, and that's nice. And he's stating that the Dakota pipeline is now drilling under the Missouri without Army Corps' permission. I've had this checked out, and they have suggested that that is not correct. Whatever they're hearing is not drilling under the Missouri. They daren't not do that. Trust me. So now the Army Corps will send somebody out regardless to check, and we'll deal with it. And now we've got US military and veterans attending on December the 4th. We'll see what they're made of. So maybe the panic for action is not required currently. But yes, it is an important issue, and it will be dealt with. Someone wanting Lily Earthling back on the show. I think she's really important at the moment to help us all ground ourselves due to the enormity of everything that's happening at the moment. I think a lot of the listeners and members could do with that on the show again. I know I could. Yes, John. I've spoken to Lily this week and asked her to come back on the show. And she has new material coming up soon. And so we may arrange another show with Lily. Of course, Lily, I mentioned the drawing last week. I was astonished to find out maybe it's near 2 years since I was shown that original drawing in my dream time, or in the spirit world. And Lily was shown the same thing 4 or 5 years ago, the same pattern. So certain ones are being shown things. In fact, many are being shown things, but not everyone comes back and remembers it. So it doesn't make any one of us special as such, just that some don't remember everything. So yes, I've asked Lily to come back on. The British government is going after the poor and disabled again. When will this stop? When the able-bodied people and the unpoor and the people of Britain decide enough is enough. You've seen what's happened, I mentioned in the news earlier. People of Turkey, they weren't going to tolerate that type of ruling and campaigned against it. Simple as that. Whilst you all go about your lives or spend your whole day with a smartphone in front of your face, everything continues. The minute you step up and fight back, they cower in fear, more so now than at any other time in history. They know we have them on the back foot, big time. So we will get more and more small victories, hoping that that pacifies the people. No, once we get one, we go after another, then we go after another, and go after another until we end this tyranny. Simple as. So it's up to the British people to go after the government and campaign against the people they selected and tell them you either change this or we're going to change you. They'll soon get the message. Just takes numbers. Is there a chance that Earth might reset itself again and start all over with new species? Yes, that was a possibility. It's reducing by the year. We, as I understand now, we will get a chance to look after ourselves. Ultimately, it's down to us that we become personally responsible for ourselves and each other, not follow the same pattern of the cabal of control and domination and greed. An Earth with people looking after each other, caring and sharing is what we want and what we need. Once we're doing that, there's no need for any reset. Ultimately, we'll get to a point where we will go out when we're responsible enough, which is not the case currently, and go out and meet amongst the stars. And maybe then a new species will come here and take over. Not hostile, just as a learning planet. Unless it's already been done, wouldn't it be worth creating a template of the establishment of the People's Club to aid the creation of similar foundations in other areas? Good idea, and I will bring it up with the foundation people. I would like, at a later date, but we need to get the American one up and running first, via the funding. But it's once that's up and running, the foundation people are aware I would like to set something up in the UK and also in Ireland, and see if we can get those people help, maybe something else around Europe. Each country will be given funds, so yeah, why not get the People Club, set an example and drive it forward. Next question, will we see common law trump maritime law with all the changes? I hope so. It has to be done. It has to be recognised that we're under British control, and we have to take steps to eradicate that control system. You know, 1776 was bogus, whether we like that idea or not. Most of the wars that preceded after it were also staged and bogus, and we didn't win. We, being America, we lost. Otherwise they wouldn't control our monarchy, and they wouldn't control our justice system if we'd actually won those wars. Think about it. They wouldn't be claiming our income tax back to the crown if we'd actually won any of the said wars that you're taught in school. We didn't. We lost. But the next one we will win and claim back this country as the Republic of America with no foreign entities running it. There sounds like there are moves afoot by the Hitler crowd to steal the election back off Trump. Is this happening? And do I know? I sincerely hope it's not. And why is this criminal not behind bars? I didn't realise you could put someone in jail who is plastic. But there you go. Anyway, yes, there are moves afoot by the Hitler crowd, aka the factions, particularly the Rothschilds and the Asian group. They're not best pleased. Neither are the Bush group, because they went massive shorts, not only on Hillary winning, but also on the stock market crash, which didn't materialise, and the US dollar crash, which also didn't materialise. They lost huge amounts of funds. Maybe Mr. Soros decided to tell people to bet on it, and they did, and they lost. Maybe that's why he got taken out. So let them carry on. You know, I noticed the press are reporting already that Hillary is up by 2 million votes in the popular vote. Who cares whether she was 10 million ahead in the popular vote? That's not how the elections are operated at this point. You know, they're bad losers, they cabal, aren't they? You know, suck it up, you lost. You know, only the cabal can lose in a one-horse race. I hope they like that, because I do. Anyway, where are we next? If this has been answered, could someone point me to which show to listen to, please? But is the plan still in place, and can we expect mass arrests in the near future? It depends on which plan. If it's the Drake plan, as it was laid out, I don't expect that to take place. It would have been suicidal had it gone ahead in 2012, as Drake laid out, or as it was relayed to Drake. Please don't blame Drake, it's not his fault. It was as it was relayed to him. But the idea that behind that particular plan is that the military were going to mass arrest and change everything within 90 days. They had plasma tech, they had all kinds of other dodgy science fiction type weaponry, including kill shot technology that the military were not aware of at the time, that all had to be removed before anything could be done. Otherwise we go mass arrest them and they press the boom switch. What use is that? So the plan is unveiling. It's been ongoing all year, the plan. It's been done largely behind the scenes, which doesn't please some people. But it is what it is. You're seeing sufficient evidence of what we've been saying as being correct. It is ongoing. People are being removed. Certain entities are being removed. Certain technologies are being removed. And certain false flags have been stopped, prevented. Market crashes have been stopped. RV has been blocked. Global currency, bogus reset, blocked. And on we go. That's all this year. The invasion of the Middle East, blocked. The Ukraine massacre, blocked. The Syria, largely blocked eventually. ISIS being wiped out, as forecast on this show. 1,000 dead last week. Blocked, 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 and blocked. So the plan is unveiling. It's just a different way of doing it to what was laid out by Drake, if that's who you're referring to. If it's somebody else's plan, again, I'll say the same thing. It's happening. It's already started. It's been ongoing a while. And that's not to mention a lot of the in secret agreements that have already been signed, like the peace treaty, like the blocking of the trade, Pacific trade and Atlantic. They're all going to be squashed. So much is ongoing, and I hope all of you see, and not just take my word for it. There's sufficient data now for us all to see that things are ongoing. Do you think the foundation will go live this year, or is it looking more like next year? Thank you for having a show for the holiday. Many are pretty alone at this time, and we appreciate it. It's a possibility this year. I can't say too much at this time, because of course we've been let down by dates before. Not so much on this show, but certain other shows and certain references to 14 days. I won't say. He kind of ribs me over that. But we are hoping it will go live this year. Thomas, can you talk about the Montauk project? The bits I know. Is the time portal at Montauk finally completely shut down, and are the ETs formerly working there no longer but able to interfere with anything at that location? Right. Montauk came, is rolled into the MK Ultra and all kind of other dodgy programs, and it was linked via the portal with plasma tech that went up to 7 or 8D, and that's where it was being interfered with. Now, in 2000 and trying to think, around the time Bush Senior went into hospital, which was forecast because of his connections with that particular program, the plasma tech and the machinery was destroyed, and a load of the entities and humans were wiped out in the tunnels that collapsed in on them. Now, that plasma anomaly was then dealt with back to its source and removed, all in the same mission. And there was remnants to deal with, and as I understand it, since then those remnants have been dealt with. Some of them ran underground, but the machinery itself was rendered completely inoperable. So when Cobra talks about certain plasma tech, and he suggests some of it is still in place, I beg to differ. It was removed in the November of either 2013 or 2014. I can't remember the specific year, but it was 4 days before Bush Senior went into hospital and never recovered. He was there. So a lot of it has been built up since for to generate funds for certain individuals, where they still think a lot of it is ongoing. Not from there, it's not. And certainly not the plasma weaponry that they had. So I hope that answers the question. As for the time travel technologies being completely shut down, they've been negated to a point. Right. Is Stephen Greer a reptilian? I won't be unkind as to suggest that, but he is a friend of the Clintons, and I'm going to say no more. Would you be able to inform us on shape-shifting? Is it real? Who can do it? Natural or tech-based? Both. Only one of the group, the 5 Anunnaki group, can shapeshift. It's not a normal thing, as I understand it. There's only one specific race that can shapeshift. Yes, it is real, but there's also it's not necessarily tech, it's more to do with abilities, whereby let's use the Sasquatch. Some people quoted as seeing them, and then they look again and it's not there, and they've disappeared without trace. The reality is they're still standing there in front of you, except they've used their abilities to interact with your mind to see a plant, tree or bush, and not the Sasquatch. So that's some of the shape shifting. Some people have abilities to interfere with your brain frequency to send signals whereby you see them, but they're not there. They are there, but you can't see them. You will see a tree or a plant or whatever else screen that they put up in front of you. So this is why they vanish or appear to vanish. They're still there. It's just that they've used their abilities. So it's not necessarily technology. It's one of their abilities. That's the Sasquatch. So I hope that answers the question. There are many stories regarding the recount of the votes. Yes, they're putting forward one of them now. It'll get laughed out. Otherwise there will be, I would say, a military uprising if that goes anywhere near being overturned. So I wouldn't worry about it. Are the crimes of the Foundation and the clones and Bill going to be fully exposed? I would say yes. That's not gone away. Contrary to media bullshittery. Is there a pyramid in Antarctica? Yes, there is. There's pyramids everywhere. They're energy machines. One day they might fire up and balance the planet out. Where are we next? Are Lucifer and Sophia one of the same? No. Has it been taught in an upside down and backwards fashion? Largely yes. I don't think we'll ever get the full real story. Some suggest Lucifer is Satan. Some suggest he is not, and he was tricked. And there are others who believe that Lucifer was not male, it was Luciferia, and is actually female. But Lucifer and Sophia, no, are not one and the same. Lucifer may have not been a man. Here we go again into another round of Occupy like frenzy anti-Trump rallies and protests. Well, you may find that those protests and rallies may now end, as the thunder has also ended. We've seen many of these sudden and fully organised uprisings. Yes, paid actors. And the question is this the cabal's last attempt at martial law? Yes, it is. Will it happen? No. They haven't got the funds to do it. They've got even less funds, as the Rothschilds stole all the American government money last Tuesday. some of it has been recovered, and people will pay a price for doing that. Can the elite shift their souls into a new body, so it's just the old body down from the corrupted blood batch? They can shift their souls out by selling their soul, literally, for fame and fortune into a Draco. So some of these people are now starting to break down. You've seen some of them come forward and saying some extraordinary things. Some of the actors and the actresses and the musicians. You may see a lot more come forward and say. You also are likely to see a lot of them die off. Word of warning. Where are we next? Is Thaksin, this is an old question, I'm sorry I kept bumping it down. Thaksin Shinawatra, who's the Prime Minister of Thailand, a Bush agent, yes. A bit like Ahmadinejad of Iran, or Iran as we say here. They're all puppets, every last one of them. Also, will the lèse-majesté illegal to criticise the monarchy rule be lifted when the son claims the throne, making his avarice he's able to speak out? I'm unsure of Thailand politics, but I do not. I do remember now. I don't think the son will take over. If he does, he may not last long. Why did the cabal allow internet technology come to light and become something almost everybody uses? Because it was a control system. It was trying to hook you all into the tech and the transhumanist agenda. And it backfired. Because yes, we chose to meet up and coalesce. You know, everyone says, oh, I'm not joining the Facebook page. I don't mind listening to the show, but I'm not joining the Facebook page. I'm not getting involved in it. But our page is booking the Facebook trend. We're largely devoid of trolls and shills. The members spot them straight away and shut them down. So we've used Facebook against it. There's a height of irony in that. You can use anything that's negative and turn it to positive by putting your own efforts into it. So they wanted to hook us into the web. It's called that for a reason. So we're all trapped in it. But the encouraging thing is they're the ones that are trapped. Can't get in and you can't get out, cabal. Have a nice day. And on that note, I'm going to end the show a bit early tonight, given it's bank holiday and you're probably all falling asleep now because you've had too much to eat and too much to drink and had a merry day. So I hope this show was enjoyable and a pleasant break to the festivities. Enjoy the rest of Thanksgiving, and we'll be back as normal next Thursday, and hopefully with some more exciting news, hopefully. And we're going to end with that one again, I think. Yep. So this has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. I hope you all enjoyed it. And my name's Thomas Williams. And if you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. You are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family, or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be and do so as the crown of creation. Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are and excel in yourself, and in doing so, inspire others. Stay safe, stay strong, stay prepared, and never let anybody put you in any fear. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.